And it's time for another edition of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leano. What are we talking about today? Kailer Yamamoto, a one-year deal with the UHC. Plus, we're both going to pick our biggest headline for the 24-25 season. And we're going to start right now.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for making us your very first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. Robyn and I, we've got your back, and we've got your info. We appreciate you being here. Also encourage you, after you listen to us, head on over and check out some of the other UHC, or I should say some of the other Locked On material that's out there. We're playing the Blackhawks this week. Season opener on Tuesday night. If you want to check out Locked On Hawks, you can do that, or the NHL show. Heck, it's fantasy time too, so you can always take a look at those. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Robyn, we have so much going on. The season starts Tuesday night, and the hockey world, I think, will be focused on Utah Hockey Club. I really think all the attention is going to be there. Questions have been answered. The roster is pared down. We know that Yamamoto has signed a one-year, two-way deal with the Utah Hockey Club, so that answers that. So I know you want to talk about that, and I want to talk about that as well, but was there anything coming out of this training camp that you're really looking at heading into the opening of the season?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's just taking a look at what this team is capable of, right? You take a look at the last two seasons they had as what as then known as the Arizona Coyotes, and the strides that they've made, right? The strides they made in going into the offseason. We were talking about all these things in training camp. We were talking about all these things. Now we're just making another step, and I can't honestly. I really just can't wait to see what kind of product they put forth. How different is it going to look with a little bit of change of personnel?
A little bit, and Yamamoto is one of those, as I mentioned. It's a one-way, 2-year, Tom, 1 year, two-way contract. I think I need a coffee. I'll be right back. Not caffeinated enough for this. So Yamamoto, who's 26, he skated all 6 games in the preseason, scored 3 times, had that 2-goal game, looked great. They used him on the penalty kill. I think a lot of folks, ourselves included, were looking as the battle between him and Doan and who was going to come out on top there. I don't mind this move for several reasons. Number one, getting a 2-way deal on a 26-year-old is pretty good. Also, a guy who I think has been in the league and is a little bit more of a veteran presence than, perhaps trying to push Doan into that spot, who came up, didn't look out of place at the end of last year, Robyn, and I know you had a chance to watch that transition for Doan from AHL to NHL, but, maybe that evolution, they're still like, what, maybe a little bit more time in the American League is what you really need.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing that they're focusing on. And you ask a lot of the term a lot of them are preferring, deactivated Coyotes fans. And they're saying, oh no, Doan's paid his dues. He deserves to be up. It's an insult to him to put him back down. And I'm like, honestly, I don't see it that way. I do not see it that way. I think that he'd benefit for getting another year in the American Hockey League, especially in a battle. That battle with Yamamoto just shows that, heck, no matter what, you're still going to have, Doan's going to get called up. He's going to move up and down between, I have no doubt about that.
Sure.
It's going to be that term, as I've been using during the offseason, Tom, that quadruple A player, the guy who's going to come up every now and then. He's going to be your extra skater if ever need be. I have no doubt about that. I'm not saying he's going to play a full year in Tucson. I don't think he will.
I don't think so either. I would be shocked if either one of them actually does a full year. I could see Yamamoto up and down because, again, this is a two-way deal, which is tremendous. Same thing with Bortuzzo. Two-way deal. You're not losing anything. In the meantime, do you need Bortuzzo? Yes. So you're able to have him up, but you have the flexibility here. And I think that's one of the things that the Utah Hockey Club has done a great job of, is keeping themselves flexible, giving themselves assets that, quite honestly, at the trade deadline on a 1-year, two-way deal, if a team is looking for a fourth line penalty killing forward, this guy is a flippable asset.
Yep.
And you can build the cupboard a little bit more too. 26 years old, plenty of life left in the skates. I mean, he's going to give you everything. He goes out there, works hard. I actually thought it was kind of funny earlier in the preseason when he said he was talking to Tisha Ginla. Again, he's 26. And Ginla said, "Hey, I was watching you when I was 10. I'm like, what? But so he is one of the older guys, in the forward core now. I mean, you look at the relative age of these guys: Keller 26, Schmaltz 28, Krause 27, Kerfoot's the old man. He's the graybeard at 30, along with Liam O'Brien. Other than that, Carconi's 28. But I mean, this is a very young team.
It is a very young team, and I think it's a good. I like that it's young, but on the same thing, and something that I'll mention in a little bit too. It's still because they're young, they still got some experience left to learn.
Oh yeah.
But it's not an inexperienced team. It's like it's kind of got this, like, at this point, I'm liking where they are, where they're at. But to get to that point, what you were saying earlier and talking about these moving ups and downs, seeing where Yamamoto is, and you're talking about all that deal of Yamamoto and Don. I think the really cool thing about this is when you talked about Yamamoto now being on a two-way deal, this benefits Tucson in the way that Tucson can get some extra reinforcements if they really need some extra help too. Because sometimes, heck, I know, and I'm pretty sure you know this, that Tucson, like the organization in Tucson, even though AHL at the end of the day, development is the first key. It's like they send whatever they need to the NHL, but also that organization I know wants to win a Calder Cup.
Sure they do, and they're gonna have to go through their neighbors a couple hundred miles to the west to do it, because I think Coachella Valley right now is the absolute class of the American League West. But I mean, that said, this Roadrunners team this year will be more experienced. They will have more of that understanding of what it takes to make a deeper run. Not that the Firebirds got worse, but I mean, I think both of these franchises, Seattle and Utah, have really good, really stacked farm clubs. And that's an awesome thing for your developmental future.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see where that transition goes on that point for Tucson. And I've always had good hope for Tucson. And again, as someone myself who covered the team for so many years, and for you that used to cover that organization, was a part of the organization. You know how much that city loves it when they win.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I have plenty of stories about walking in my first day on the job there when we were literally set up at folding tables and chairs, and it was 3 months to puck drop. So yeah, I still have some sweat equity in that team. That's for sure. So I'll tell you what, why don't we take a quick break, and we want to remind everybody the best way you can support the show, if you like what Robyn and I are doing, please support our sponsors. That helps us an awful lot, and it really makes a difference for us. So what we're going to do, we're going to get into the biggest headlines for the Utah Hockey Club coming up here, and Robyn's going to throw some topics out. I'm going to throw some topics out, and then we're going to see if we can agree on what the biggest headline should be. We'll do that right after this. And today's episode brought to you in part by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agreed Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, so this is going to be a true test, Robyn, of whether or not you and I could ever run a newspaper. What's a newspaper? Maybe, I don't know, a news website. I'm not sure. Because there's so many ways we can go with the biggest headline. How are we going to whittle this down to one? We got to get a starting point.
It's going to be tough. So, yeah, you're right. That's going to be, so what we'll start off with is kind of get some topics out there. And kind of figure out where we, at least some things that could be a big headline, and then we'll kind of whittle things down from there and kind of see where we can get on that. I think and certainly, Tom, as a team that's going into their first year, there's so much we can put to start off with. It's the effect of the first year,
right? Right. You've never played a regular season game in this building, in this city. Brand new fan base, brand new building, brand new uniforms, everything. It's just a completely new experience. What is that experience going to be like for the Utah hockey fan? And I think that by itself, by the way, which already looks to be shaping up to be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, between the reasonably priced concessions, the party, and they're throwing a big party Tuesday night. But to see everything that they're doing and all the ways they're going to go about this to not only open the season, but I think to try to continue to make it fan-friendly, family-friendly, reasonably affordable. I think those are all big stories too, because at the end of the day, I mean, let's face it, they tried playing games in an empty building during the pandemic, and it wasn't the best.
Oh no, it wasn't. I remember some of those days and seen some of those games, and I was just like, I just don't like the vibe. Yeah, I'm sure there might be there's hockey going on, but oh man,
remember when they hired those the guys and girls to come down with hats and throw them on the ice if someone had a hat trick, and they tried to normalize stuff as much as possible, but it was weird. But you need the fans.
Especially when the Jumbotron put things up. It's like, what is it? Who is it displaying to? There's no one there.
Right. Make some noise. Woo! Yeah, that's... So, okay, fan experience, that's a good one. Because it's going to be everything from, can I get myself a jersey or my kid a jersey or my partner a jersey or whatever? What kind of merch is going to be there? And how good is parking or bad is parking? How good or bad is the commute to the arena? How good or bad is the experience of walking up, walking in? How am I greeted? What do I see? All this goes into it. And honestly, I don't think a lot of fans think about that. So that's a good one. That is a very good one to start with. I like that. So, okay. Fan experience, overall vibe check for the Utah Hockey Club.
Certainly. That's going to be, again, I'm like that. So that's one. That's one.
It's only one.
And certainly that's something we can put up there. I think another one, Tom, let's add one more. I'll add another one is the additions made over this offseason.
Yes. And I think has to be headlined by obviously Sergachev.
Mm-hmm.
He by himself is a headline.
100%.
Another 26-year-old who never has had a chance to be the guy because he was always behind Victor Hedman, of course, was hurt most of last year. Now coming back off the injury, it's really interesting to hear the language. And I was going back through and I was listening to some of the transcripts and reading some of the quotes. A lot of the talk from GM, head coach, even the player himself is, I don't want to say I'm a number one defenseman. We don't want to say he's a number one defenseman. We want him to be. We project that he can be. I think that Robyn is underplaying it. I think the pressure is 1,000,000% on Sergachev to be a number one right now.
To be the guy for the Utah Hockey Club.
Yes. You're not behind Victor Hedman anymore. You are now on your own. And they're like, well, and even Sergachev said, we'll see how the coach feels about my play and how I'm developing and blah, blah, blah. No, you're starting on the top pair. You're expected to be the number one power play defenseman. You're the guy. And I don't want to heap more pressure on someone entering that role for the first time. I suppose in a way, because the playoff expectations are low for Utah, that helps. But this isn't about figuring out if maybe you can grow into it. You have to be there now.
No, because 100%, because it is his blue line at the end of the day that we're talking now. He's commanding it. That's what's he going to do?
Yeah. And that the special teams is going to revolve, especially the power play, as I mentioned, around Sergachev. And look, great work ethic, smart player, skilled player. I have a lot of confidence in that. I found some of the language was it was a little strange to me. I don't want to say laughable but it was just so downplaying it. I thought, this is not where we're at with this guy. You brought him in to be number one. It's not, well, let's see where he goes. No, he's there. You're there. You committed to this. You're pot committed. So that to me is a big one. And you talk about the other acquisitions as well over the offseason. The defense, again, a headline unto its own, because they rebuilt most of it.
Yeah, they rebuilt. They did rebuild most of it. You talked, earlier in the show, you talked about bringing in Bortuzzo, adding another one, bringing in John Marino. So look, you look at it, that's half a blue line, right? More, around half blue line, because
Ian Cole brought him in.
Ian brought, exactly. That's another one, bringing in Ian Cole. We're the only ones you have left from the previous regime of the blue line. Or Valimaki and
Kesselring. Yep.
Yeah. But Valimaki and Kesselring in Jersey. Like, so four new guys and 3 returns.
And now you need Bortuzzo because of the injury to Marino. Not that you weren't planning on using him at some point, but he will be pressed into service. And he didn't look bad in camp, I didn't think, to be honest with you. I paid a lot of attention to the defense. And yes, there are things to criticize about this defense. It's going to be a big storyline. So I'm going to bump that above fan experience so far. I'm going to put that in my little side satchel here of this is going to come back out in the final. All right. Do you have any other ones you want to add to the discussion?
One more, and I think this is more of like depending on what level of fan you are. So this could very go either way, but it is what I think is the transition from rebuild to emerging as a competitive team.
Okay.
At what point, because they're getting to that point, I think even the team even thinks to themselves that the rebuild part, like that rebuild part, they're done with that. Now that it's about fine tuning, getting what they want together.
So really what we're talking about here is expectations, right? Raising the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Trying to make this team into a playoff team now. And I think that is also a big storyline, because now they need to expect more out of themselves as they do hit their mid-20s collectively as a group. I mean, some younger, some older, but that's a good one. That is a good one.
I'll even add this really quick, because you add on that to again, as everyone else slowly has that more expectations for the team. You've already said it, that you probably expect this team to get to the playoffs in a couple of years from now, and could very well still be on the bubble on the bubble this year.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of already knows where, that they're on this course.
Yep. And that's a great way to put it. Yeah, the bar is going to be raised here. Okay, I'm going to give you mine, and then we're going to whittle it down to the biggest headline right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you can place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I know I was sharing with Tom earlier some of my bets that I've made. I did a massive parlay for futures for the NHL that eventually could yield me, get me almost to be a millionaire. That'd be really cool if it hits. I could talk about that more maybe another time. But that's all on FanDuel. So once again, $200 on bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So you don't even have to win that $5 bet to get those $200. So that's on FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
I feel like, Robyn, you're one of those, I'm going to bet on the coin flip of the Super Bowl or the time of the anthem, the over under on the anthem time. Just to see, right? Right? I don't know.
Only when I can put out some low stakes and and I know it's something it's like, yeah, what do I have to lose? It's like I have everything to gain and nothing to lose. That's my philosophy when it comes to sports betting.
But hey, if I hope every parlay comes true for everybody. Although I know it's not possible, but boy, I would love to see folks hit those. So, all right, here's a couple of my headlines for this year. You knew I was going to bring this one up at some point, but it's pretty mission critical. The goaltending. Yes. Have to go to the netminders. Now, I will say this. I've been extremely impressed with the preseason for Vejmelka. So way better than I thought. And back in the summer, folks may remember me saying there is pressure in a goaltender at 27 coming into a contract year. There's nothing on the books beyond this year. Two things for Vejmelka is, number one, you either want to make yourself tradable at the deadline to get yourself into an organization that might view you as a number one, or you want to put yourself in a contract situation where, whether it's with Utah or someone else, you get paid well and have a crack at the starting job. Then there's Connor Ingram. Ingram had some good fancy stats from last year, including a very high danger save percentage. Really, I thought was impressive in a lot of situations where you need your goaltender to be impressive. So basically, like expected goals saved, really had some nice numbers there. But here's the thing, and it'll tie back into the defense. You can't put your goaltender in a situation where they have to face higher than average high danger chances. You can't put them in a situation where they need to face higher than average, quality of scoring attempts and rebound chances and odd man rushes and those kinds of things. So if that continues to be how the defense plays, then the onus is on the goaltending. They will have to steal some here and there for Utah to be a playoff team. I think they're capable of it, but not night in, night out. Occasionally, yes, every team will ask a goaltender to steal a game for them, but I don't think they can be forced to do it on a consistent basis and be okay.
No, they can't be. And I think that kind of, I think back to about 2 years ago under the under when it was still the Coyotes, taking a look what a couple of games that Kirill Vejmelka did, where he would go on it was like a 45 save game, and it's unbelievable. We're calling, I'm like, this is the Veggie Show because, oh my goodness, he's doing so well. But at the same time, you can't expect him to do that every day.
Well, you don't want him to do that.
No, you don't, because again, that's not only is that high stress, but also you take a look at again, and I'm going to go even further back on the Coyotes, where you had that regime when it was Darcy Kemper, Antti Raanta, Aiden Hill, where they put too much pressure on Kemper. He gets injured because he's essentially standing on his head and then eventually on one leg and whatever it is, because he gets hurt. Raanta comes in, has also a similarly amazing performance. He gets hurt. Hill comes in, has a similarly amazing performance, but again, they put Hill 10 games back to back to have that same performance. Like, he's doing well, right? The hot hand, and guess what? He gets hurt, and Ivan Prosvetov comes in, and all hell breaks loose. You don't want that to happen. You got to figure out a way to bring these guys in, reel it in, and you just don't want that kind of level of stress again.
No, you really don't. You certainly don't want that. From a fan perspective, you don't want that level of stress again. So we'll see. We'll see how that's going to play itself out. But so I think that's going to be a big issue for me. And let's come back around to special teams. I really feel like the power play and the penalty kill both need to improve. The power play was decent last year. It was decent. It was aight. It needs to be way better, because for Utah to succeed, playoff succeed, it's got to be a top 10 power play. For Utah to playoff succeed, at least top half penalty kill.
Yes.
And I am worried from what I saw. The penalty kill did not look great in the preseason. The power play looked good. I thought the power play looked real good. I think the penalty kill looked bad. And 5-on-5 defensive coverage wasn't great, but down a man, they look pretty porous. Teams are knifing passes through the box. Guys are open back door. There was a lot of confusion, miscommunication. And I know that some of that is plugging new guys in, but we're for real now Tuesday night. And I don't know what this past week of practice fixed, but I hope it fixed something.
I sure hope so. I would sure hope so too. And I think one of the big things, again, it is a collective team thing, but one of the things I would hope is to have a guy, and I'm going to use be using like a football term, have a guy quarterback that penalty kill, someone who can kind of reel things in and be a general on that ice, kind of help everybody else. Because as we talked about earlier, this is a young team, right? So they have to figure that out, because again, this penalty kill cannot make those mistakes. It cannot make those mistakes.
Penalty killing can't win you games, but it can lose you games.
Yes.
I mean, shorthanded goals are going to be few and far between, but keeping that puck out of the net, huge. So, all right, Robyn, we've laid it out. So what are you going to pull out of your bag of tricks here for your number one headline? What would you present me for an argument with?
It's a tough one, because I feel like a lot of these certainly have a level of headline worthiness, and it's in on their own certainly. I think, to me, and it kind of, because it can kind of help tie in multiple bits, is talking about this is the elevated level expectations, kind of going like the last one I kind of brought up. That's honestly my thing, because again, to me, Tom, this ties in almost everything. It ties in the expectations. We talked about Sergachev coming in, so he's like, okay, that kind of elevates a little bit more on the blue line. Who else is going to come in? Maybe Kevin Stenlund. How is he going to perform on special teams? Where are we going to where's all this bring in together and tie in together? And what kind of team are we going to get? Are we going to get 6th or like 7th place, 8th place, like they were with the Coyotes? Or is this team going to be right there on the bubble for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which a lot of people kind of want to have, or a lot of professionals have had them right up there, probably even like 4th or 5th place in some of those predictions.
I've seen, it's interesting to see people, when pressed for a stretch prediction, that is one of the first go-tos, is that Utah makes the playoffs. So it's not their guaranteed prediction. They're not saying take it to the bank, but they are saying, if things kind of fall the right way,
it wouldn't surprise me if this,
yeah. So to me, I think, so what you're talking about, it does encompass, I think for me, the defense is the linchpin to everything.
Yes.
Absolute linchpin for everything. But I am willing to sweep the defense into the raised expectations. So I think the level of expectations not only rising across the board for the forwards, for the D, special teams, for the coaching staff, for the general manager, for everyone, the goaltenders, the expectations are higher. So I think, yeah, because the focus is on Utah as an emerging franchise, and the pressure is there on all the players to take that next step forward. Because if everything continues to move according to plan, this team should be dangerous this year. They will not be an easy out. They should scare some teams. But I don't think, again, and I said this before too, I don't think they're coming out of the gate that way. I think they stumble out of the gate. I think it takes them a little time. And again, why? Because they have so many new pieces. So be patient putting this together. But okay, I'll agree with you on that then. I'll go with that. I will go with raised expectations. That is my headline on tom.com.
Tom, I love that. And I'm glad. I mean, I think it's good that we're able to get to it, that kind of level of, agreement on this. It's nice that I think a lot of us kind of can say that we're getting ready for what's going to be a really awesome year, right? With that level of raised expectation, Tom, the excitement around this team, we can all feel it. We can all feel it an incredible amount.
There's a buzz. For sure there's a buzz. It's not too late to call them the Bees. Oh, wait, there's a baseball team with that name. They've already got the buzz. Okay, we'll have to figure out something.
We will. Any final thoughts?
You know what? I'm excited. I am so excited. I know you and I are planning to do some pre and post game stuff for Tuesday night, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm just looking forward to see this team hit the ice in the regular season, and it'll be fun to see one of the best young players in the game, not in a Utah hockey jersey, in Connor Bedard, come in. Chicago is a pretty good litmus test early on in the season because these two teams are going to be fighting to keep each other down. So I really like this opening night matchup.
And not only that, this is something I actually almost didn't really think about, but we're starting the month for Utah for this season against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks, and we're ending the month against Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, that's a pretty stout twosome of young talent right there. I mean, one could be this year's Rookie of the Year. One was last year's Rookie of the Year.
I mean, what way to get an excuse? Like, heck, maybe you were a fan of another team of Utah before, but now that you have a team, if you still want some level of excitement, another storyline to watch, it's like an excuse to go think, you know what? I feel like buying a ticket to this game. There's a couple of extra ones. Like, hey, I'm going to go watch these guys play because future of the NHL right there. Plus, again, there's some couple guys in Utah who are close to that, but we'll see.
Indeed, we will. And you know what? I'm excited for it. So looking forward to it. But, well, I guess that's it for this episode, although we've chatted quite a bit. Robyn, where can people find us when they look for us online?
Yeah, they can find us anywhere they can get their podcasts. That's Apple, Google, Spotify, Sirius XM, ad-free on Amazon Music if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber. On social media, we are at LO_NHL Utah. I am personally at Robyn with a Y _LEANO. Tom Callahan is at Callahan on air. Guys, feel free to interact with us, ask the question. We can interact right back or in a future episode of the show. But Tom, I also invite people, if they want to get a lot more in depth on the questions they want to ask us, to be a part of our text club. That is. If I bring it up right here.
Go right ahead. Sure. Yeah. At 801-760-9033. Like I said, just text Tom is the greatest to 801-760-9033 to get started, or Robyn Rocks, whatever you choose. And you know what? Now that the regular season is here, we're really going to have a lot more populated content on there. There's going to be exclusive stuff for that, and also exclusive access to the mailbag.
Exclusive access to the mailbag. Once again, anything comes up you guys want to ask, you can send us to that number. Once you are a subscriber, send us your question. It will come right to us directly. I'll read those and I'll let you know, hey, I got this. We'll be submitted to the mailbag. We'll answer it on the show. So be sure to stay tuned on Mailbag Monday.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. So, because you're more than likely hearing this on Monday, although you might not catch it until Tuesday, which then becomes opening night. We will start, Rob, and I'll just tease it, on Monday, October 14th is going to be our first Mailbag Monday for the regular season. And so that'll give us a week of regular season games to catch up on, your thoughts, our reaction. We're really looking forward to that. So definitely get your questions in there as early as possible.
Certainly get them in. But thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. We'll catch you again tomorrow because we will have some pregame talk. We'll get some other preseason talk, as much as we can get into all in one day. And it's going to be quite a lot as we get ready for the start for the inaugural season for the Utah Hockey Club. Thanks again once more, and we'll see you guys next time.